A mirror missed me.
God, I have no idea what I'm doing with these introductions anymore. And if you weren't able to tell what that introduction was leading into, this is a video of can you beat Fallout 4 as, well...
The name's Bond. James Bond.
I went for high agility to boost my stealth, and high charisma as well. It is James Bond. After being properly greeted by Codsworth with the correct name, old 007 runs off to the vault and gets himself frozen. I get briefly woken up for a little bit of entertainment, and get my first nice little bit of tech. I don't think Q made this, but it will have to do as we finally enter off into the Commonwealth. Now before we can do anything in this playthrough, the first thing we gotta do, after we speak to Duke, because I've never found him this early in the game, is get all the little bits and pieces to really make us 007. And that means we gotta head ourselves straight to downtown Boston. After a quick stopover in Good Neighbor, we find our first piece of equipment, the Tuxedo. This is obviously a little bit more reminiscent of the older Bonds. I don't think he wears tuxedos too much in the newer movies. But that doesn't matter because I'll be taking a little bit from every different Bond out there. Leave a comment down below who your favourite Bond was. Me being Scottish, it's obviously Sean Connery. A part of this challenge as well is that I have to use every single charisma check that is available to me, and if I fail it, that's it. You might be wondering why I've headed to the railroad so early. It's because this is where I'm going to pick up my main weapon. And to do that, we simply just have to complete the initial quest for the railroad. We go meet Deacon, and have to watch as he takes out all the ghouls for us as we don't even have a weapon yet. We do the old covert rigamajig, and make our way into the underground sewer. It's here we have to do a little bit more waiting for Deacon to clear all the enemies, but it does give us the opportunity to activate this turret to take out some of the Sims, kinda like a spy would. Now I know a lot of people are probably sitting there wondering, well, James Bond uses a bunch of different weapons in his movies, why am I only limiting myself to one? It's mainly because the Deliverer feels like a specific weapon put in the game for people who wanted to play as James Bond, you know? So instead of googling every single weapon that was used in any Bond film, I decided just to limit myself to, well, just this one for now. Now I can truly call myself
Bond. James Bond.
Now that I have the ability to do a little bit of damage, we can start off with some of the quests. Now, the obvious choice for going for James Bond is the railroad. And not really because of the whole kind of underground network kind of thing full of spies. It's mainly because they offer the most covert types of quests. So this challenge will have me siding with the railroad. And I know, that makes you all feel a little bit gross. Before I start doing any of that though, it's time to go get some easy XP. At the end of the day, James Bond does do everything he does so he can help people and save the world, so why don't I go and save the Minutemen's world as well? Preston lets me know there's a massive minigun and a huge suit of power armor on the roof, but who needs any of that when you can just sprint right towards the Deathclaw and allow him to take out all your enemies for you. It's called being tactical. I'm also a little bit worried about the number of bullets I've got, so I don't want to waste too many. I always have to take out the Deathclaw, but I don't have to take out all the raiders, so why not allow myself to save a little bit of caps? I nearly end up running out of all my bullets anyway, but imagine if I had to take out all those raiders as well. With that, I can send Preston over to Sanctuary, and continue on saving the world. I cut through Wolfgang and Simone like a thunderball, and after that I head back to the railroad to hear whatever fantastic story Deacon is telling. My charm is more than enough for Desdemona to believe me, and she decides to live and let die. I'm finally allowed into the railroad headquarters, and I'm told to go speak to Dr. Carrington. And I decide that now is probably a good time to start some of the Radiant Railroad quests. The reasons you want to do this a little bit earlier is because you want to get access to ballistic fibre as quickly as possible. I gotta go meet up with Old Man Stockton, and speak covertly about the rescued synth that I'm going to help out with. Is at this point he lets me know that it's for your eyes only, and I have to ensure that this mission goes off without a hitch. we head off through Boston to clear out a bunch of raiders and a bunch of different super mutants. This quest is as simple as ever, but the only thing that's keeping me back is my lack of ammunition at this point. I get this critical shot on this super mutant unaliver, and to be honest, they're going to need a moonraker to pick up all the pieces of him after that. For some reason, High-Rise is constantly in the fleeing position, so I have to wait until tomorrow to come back and make sure he's not crapping his pants. Luckily for us though, tomorrow never dies, and we're able to reach the final point with High-Rise and the escaped synth completing the mission. It's at this point I decide that I want to solve my ammo situation. I try and take the checkpoint the closest to Diamond City, and unfortunately for me, I get blown up as soon as I spawn in. I try a different spot and I get the same result again. I'm just a spectre at this point. I'm finally able to reach Eleanor, who sells pretty much most ammunition out of any vendor in this game. But you need to have a golden eye to spot her, and I head back to speak to Dr. Carrington, who seems pretty happy with my work. I go over to start chatting with Tinker Tom and let him know about my nice little lie of how I radiate myself. And now that I've indoctrinated myself into the railroad fully, I can help them out with the Augustus Hideout. This is one of those quests that is really simple and really low level, but just took far too long. When Dr. Carrington told me about this quest, he never mentioned that there was going to be a Deathclaw on the bottom. So when Dr. Carrington said yes to this, I should have said, Doctor, no. And there was no way I was going to be fighting a Deathclaw at this level. Well, not at least without some sniper support from Preston Garvey and a bunch of raiders to weaken him up first. Carrington is pretty disappointed with all the information that I give him, and so is Tinker Tom. But he still hands me a melee anyway. I head over to the Boston Bugle building, and to be honest, where I place this melee, I mean that is a view to kill if I've ever seen one. I head back to the railroad and decide that it's time to take a nice little break, and start doing more of the main quest. I head back over to Piper and, well, she's as pleasant as always.
Are you going to complain the whole way?
And I ensure that I keep a nice bit of charm on so I can get myself into Diamond City. With the market put on my map and I've stocked up a bit more ammunition, I head straight over to the purchasing station so I can help save. I have generally forgot, what's his name? What the hell is the robot's name again? Oh well, no time to die, I gotta start making my way through all these different triggermen. I also found that you can play a nice little game with this gate right here. After I had enough time wasting all my bullets shooting at a gate, I decided to snipe Dino with my pistol, and when that didn't work, get real close up and personal and finish him off. Valentine! His name was Valentine, how could I forget that? Or how can I forget that? I feel like I'm in the living daylights right now. But there's no time to waste, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service, I take out Skinner Malone with a nice little... I mean, how has he... He must have noticed I did that. I mean, I'm just such a super spy, I suppose. With Valentine saved, I let him know that I'll meet him back at Diamond City. And I still get the funniest running animations from Ellie. I cannot get over that. I give Valentine just enough information not to totally blow my cover. Something about a made up sun and some nonsense. Nothing I really care about, but I'll let them think I do. And because my lockpicking just isn't quite good enough yet, I gotta head over to Geneva and put the charm on her. I give her the sob story from Russia with Love, and I'm able to pick up Kellogg's house key. Once I'm inside, it's just a case of stealing his cigars and getting the scent to dog meat. Luckily though, I have a golden eye, so I don't actually need to follow Dog. I can make my way straight over to Fort Hagen by myself. I sneak through a couple of his traps, but none of them were good enough to catch old Bond off guard. And I start taking out some of the feral ghouls on the way. I only add this part in because this legendary feral ghoul was carrying a Winden submachine gun. Anyone out there knows this is probably one of the best weapons that you can find in this game, and I can't use it. God, with my level of disappointment, even the world is not enough now to make me happy. So I just decided to use more of my spy techniques. hack into this terminal and set off the Securitron to wipe out most of the Sims for me. I also make sure at every opportunity, if I'm able to catch up one of these nice little stealth kills through a wall, then I make sure I'm doing it. I mean, I'm pretty sure this Synth leader spotted me, but I mean, I suppose that pipe must just be big enough to catch him out. I start making my way through the bottom of Fort Hagen, and I thought I would take this moment to talk about how this run is going. Now, the Tuxedo is what is disappointing me. I am constantly getting my limbs crippled because this Tuxedo offers absolutely no protection, unlike Bond's Tuxedos. And most of the time with this Deliverer, I feel like I'm just better off doing this. The big positive that it has is that you can use VATS pretty much endlessly with it. And with Kellogg taken out, I'm able to escape out of Fort Hagen, and Jesus, I thought did anyone else think the sky was falling there? I mean, look at the size of that. And while I'm watching two people discussing all my personal information, I thought I'd like to take this moment to ask you guys all to subscribe and like the video if you guys are enjoying it. It's how YouTube determines if a video is good or not, so if you are liking it, I would really appreciate it. Okay, shameless plugs aside, I decided that here I was going to go pick up a new weapon. Anyone who knows the mod that I'm about to grab, leave a comment down below and see if you're right. Because I won't be revealing it until I start heading towards the glowing sea. Because before that, we gotta head over to the memory den. Despite the memory den being fantastic character development for Kellogg, it's still an extremely boring mission. So I think it's time that we reveal our new weapon. Yes, I'm going to become the man with the golden gun. For anyone who doesn't know, the golden gun is a mod that you can get on PC. And it is a one-shot weapon that does absolutely massive damage. You might be wondering, how did James Bond get this? Well, spoilers ahead for the movie. And now that our James Bond lore is out the way, I head over to the bunker, pick up the gold bars and start making myself some golden bullets. This will be the weapon that will get me through the glowing sea. And as I'm sure as you saw earlier, the golden gun does about 500 damage per shot. As you can see on screen, it is wiping out all these super mutants in one shot, no problem. In fact, it's probably a waste of ammo wasting it on them. So I decided to find myself a nice little bit of bigger game. And on my way to the glowing sea, I run into this Alpha Deathclaw. As you can see, it's probably doing about, 40% damage? And this is an Alpha Deathclaw while I'm pretty low level. I think I'm around level 14 at this point. So an Alpha Deathclaw going down in 3 shots that is a lovely weapon to have. And for these regular Deathclaws, I mean, if I'm not getting a one shot, I can finish him off with the Deliverer no problem. And I pretty much only have radiation problems getting myself to Virgil's cave. This time I don't have to give him my entire life story, I'm able to charisma my way through it, and make my way straight over to Green Tech's genetics. With the amount of ammunition I've been able to pick up with the Deliverer, keep myself pretty much in sneak as much as possible, it's only a case of using the golden gun on specific enemies, mainly the rocket launcher guy and the Courser. Once that's all done, I'm able to pick up my Courser chip and make myself right back to the railroad. And with that, I decide also to head over to Pam and start doing some of her quests as well. Because at this point, it is seriously difficult to survive so much damage with just this Tuxedo. With the Jackpot Hub 360 quest initiated, I'm finally able to head over here and start using Ballistic Weave. For this playthrough, I thought the best I'll probably do is get myself to Armor rank 2. So I'm able to get Ballistic Weave Mark 3, which puts me at about 65 resistance. That's more than enough for the rest of this playthrough. With the Signal Interceptor plans given, I let Desdemona know the good news, and show those plans to Tinker Tom, who thinks he's able to build it. One Signal Interceptor later, well, there's no time like the present when I test out the Signal Interceptor, remembering that you can only live twice. Luckily for me though, it works and I'm able to meet up with my, son. At this point I might as well be in a Casino Royale because I feel like I'm gambling with my life here. But I'm able to meet up with this character called Father. Father turns out to be my son. My son turns out to be in charge of this huge institute of technology, which is starting to look a little bit more like the kind of places James Bond would be finding his different gadgets. But we have our mission. We're here to infiltrate the institute. We are a spy, and despite our son running it, these are still the bad guys. So at this point we're going to meet up with Liam Bennett and start putting into motion the plan to free all the different Sims. Because that's what Mr. Bond would do. He's here to save the world. And if anyone gets in his way, well, luckily he's got a license to kill. But I gotta make sure though that when my son looks at me that I am the spy that loved him, as I don't want to blow my cover. I give a full report over to the railroad, and we start setting up our next plan. How are we going to help out all the different Sims down in the Institute? The first thing we've got to do is get the code defender for Liam over at the Cambridge Polymer Labs. This part sucks. I hate this place, it's stupid, I don't like it, and luckily I've done it enough times that I know the quick way around it. The first time I ever done this quest, I got stuck in here for a very long time. I don't like anything to do with it. But luckily I find the terminal I'm supposed to find, and I'm able to download the new password. God, this lab just feels like a quantum of solace with how long they must have been trapped in here. And luckily we're able to escape to head back to the railroad and listen to Desdemona's just fantastic speech. I mean, I feel motivated. So motivated I wanted to stare at myself with a gun. I go over and speak to the simp that's leading this revolt, and let him know that I have his back. I give the code over to Liam, and once I've finished speaking with Z14 one more time, I head over to wipe out all the guards that are watching over the different Sims. If you don't know the railroad questline, at this point we're setting up all the different Sims to be able to stage kind of like a revolt. We take out the guards, we give them all the weapons from the guards, and when the time comes to hatch the plan, well then they're armed and ready. But in the meantime, we've got to keep working with Father. This is the undercover part of the quest. This is why we are James Bond. This is why we decided to side with the railroad, because this is undercover. This is what a spy does. And even though we've got to go off and catch an escaped synth and do the one thing that we're not supposed to be doing, we have to do it for the greater good. And God, I just hope that I don't fall into this water, because there might be an octopusy down there. That was a stretch. That was a real stretch. It was the hardest one though. Luckily the guy with the mini nuke just barely misses me, and I'm able to take him out with the golden gun and reach Gabriel on the roof. If you're wondering what I meant a second ago when I was saying that was a real stretch, I have been able to fit every single James Bond movie into this video as a reference. Some subtly, some not so subtle. If you're able to find them all, if you're able to find any of them, if you're only able to find one, leave a timestamp down below and the name of the James Bond movie. If you didn't hear any, well then don't worry about it, continue watching the video, forget that I said anything. And talking about forgettable people, X418 is the biggest douche that has ever been found. In the UK we would call this person very arsey. Just being a bit of a dick for no reason. But the plan is still set. We've got to take out Bunker Hill and save the Simpson there. But the Brotherhood have also turned up. Luckily for us though, the golden gun is able to one-shot pretty much all of the knights in power armor, and even the vertibird. So when we eventually reach the basement, it's just a case of making sure we don't wipe out any railroad agents by accident. Once we meet up with the escaped synth, it's a case of, well, betraying the poor courser. We let them know that they're free to go. And well, courser, there was no one here to witness it, so I can't believe you failed your mission, man. That is shocking. I mean, to get taken out in such a pathetic way. If only there was anyone who liked you to mourn you. With the Bunker Hill quest failed, we can go over and give our father's son the old sad spiel. Luckily for us though, there was no one there, like I said before, to witness what happened, so he just kinda buys it. With a pretty big blunder under our belt, Father still turns up and gives us the keys to the castle.
Shocking.
And with those keys, he lets us in on the big plan. We need to go get the beryllium agitator so we can set up the reactor. This is pretty much the point of no return if you want to side with the Brotherhood. But we don't mind because, well, James Bond is never siding with the Brotherhood, so we head over to the mass fusion building and start wiping out the Knights. We're actually getting a little bit, not low on golden bullets. They can definitely pack a wallop for every single shot, but I was getting a little bit weary that I could run out if I'm having a bit too much fun. I mean, I'd rather save these golden bullets for moments like this.
I think you got the point.
After fighting my way through all the different Brotherhood soldiers, I make my way to the main reactor. I irradiate myself because this Tuxedo offers no resistance, and finally pick up the beryllium agitator. With the agitator in hand, it's just a case of taking out the assaultrons and the sentry bots on the way out, and luckily for me, the golden gun is more than enough. To be honest, the second I got this golden gun, the challenge was kind of put onto easy mode. Before I started this challenge, I looked through the mod menu just for different stuff that I could quickly download for a James Bond run, and this is more or less the only thing I could really find. I think if I had known beforehand just how powerful it was, I may have opted out from using it all the time. But in for a penny, in for a pound, I've got it, so I might as well use it, and it was a lot of fun having. Now we get into the odd quest for the Institute. Once you've done the beryllium agitator, it feels like you should be, at the end, because that's where the Brotherhood quests end. But for some strange reason, you have these two, they almost feel like Radiant quests. You just got to go to this house. If you've got high enough charisma, you're able to talk this T.S. Wallace guy into joining the Institute. Which every other time I've ever done this, I've never had high enough charisma, so luckily I'm able to do it this time and actually see what happens. It ends much better for everyone involved. I mean, if you can't talk him into it, a synth just spawns in there and cleans his butt, if you get what I mean. And then right before the kind of finale, you've got to record this speech and head over to Diamond City, and it's like, I've always felt like these quests were put in with bigger ideas and then just kind of parts of them were cut, because it is kind of just like a fetch quest. It's turn up here, flick a switch, come back. And it feels, if you're looking at it in like dips and troughs in terms of like intensity or difficulty, it kind of goes up, and then just takes a huge dive. But yeah, that's just my thoughts of the Institute questline. It always felt a little bit like the pace was wrong. It felt like we should have done those quests before the beryllium agitator, if you know what I mean. But my critiques of about a 10-year-old game aside, it's time to actually enter into the endgame. The synths are getting ready. The Brotherhood's getting ready to attack the railroad. So we better get our sweet little butt right back over to the railroad and give them a nice little warning. We inform Desdemona that we've been sent to take her out and the Brotherhood's been sent here to take them out, and give them the assist. After taking out the Brotherhood in the tunnel, we've got to head out to the front of the church. And oh no, damn, if I was just a bit quicker. No, she was my favourite, no. Luckily, tomorrow never dies, so we can move on. I already did that joke, already referenced that movie. Right, again, my rambling aside, I take the golden gun, get a nice couple sneak shots on these Brotherhood sergeants and knights, and Desdemona has a plan. If the Brotherhood are going to strike us just like this, well, we better strike back. But little does Desdemona know that James Bond 007 is in fact a double agent. I'm only joking. No, of course we're going to head over and take up the Brotherhood. Because this is another one of those sneaky espionage quests. Well, at least the end part is. The first part is you gotta go guns blazing into the Cambridge police station. After you take out all the different Brotherhood knights inside. And also this other character just called Head Knight. First time ever seeing this guy. Never ever seen him before. And I've done the railroad quest before, so I don't know why I never noticed. I also take out this vertibird with 2 golden bullets. Just always cool when stuff like that happens. And Deacon gives us the goodies from the Brotherhood. We get to head on to the Pridwin to rest in the disguise, setting up different explosives. And also we get to charisma our way through different checks. I mean, if that's not James Bond, I don't know what is. We make our way off of the vertibird and start traversing our way through the Pridwin. I know it's not the Tuxedo, but in the fact that the quest line needs it for a sneaky quest, I think makes it fair game. We do get stopped by Proctor Quinlan here, and we opt for the yellow charisma check, which is enough to let us through. Once we're past him though, we can make our way up to the top and set up the 3 charges. Unfortunately for us though, there's one guy that's waiting here to talk to us. This senior scribe will always stop you and let you know it's a restricted area, and we go for the red option as that's the one that makes him go away without any problems. Luckily for us, it comes off first time. If that didn't work, I was going to have to shoot my way through this whole goddamn ship. Which would have been a bit James Bond, but this seems a little bit more James Bond, if you know what I mean. And with the 3rd charge set, we can start making our way off of the Pridwin. It's a quick little sharp left to get back to our vertibird, which is called Claymore by the way, which is just sick. A great name, great Scottish word, love it. The name of William Wallace's sword. If you guys would also like to see me play the game as William Wallace, well, there'll be a link. With another shameless plug out of the way, we complete the nuclear option and destroy the Pridwin. We take a moment just to enjoy the sights and watch as the Pridwin falls to the airport. With that, we're able to head back to the railroad and start beginning the final quest line for them. This will be a case of going into the Institute, getting the other synths ready and teleporting the railroad in. I suppose in a sense it's very spy, but we'll have to be careful to make sure that we don't get ourselves caught. That is, however, if we even decide to do that for the railroad. Oh my god!
You dirty double-crossing limey think those goddamn diamonds are phonies.
That's right, the double swerve! James Bond has been a double agent this entire time. We decided to betray the railroad. The Institute is just like the British Secret Service. It's got a lot of technology, it's pretty much based on nepotism, and at the real core of it, they're pretty evil. Everything to make James Bond 007 feel right at home. And with our father-son on his last legs, we are able to finish Fallout 4 and answer the question, yes, you can beat Fallout 4 as James Bond. The ending. The ending was a lot of fun. This entire playthrough I kept trying to justify to myself, how can I betray the railroad and make it feel legitimate? And I just kept thinking to myself, well, I've got to do all the espionage missions. I can't just skip over them. So once I'd blown up the Brotherhood and I'd done that beforehand, I thought, well, there's the perfect opportunity. As soon as the Brotherhood were gone, it doesn't matter who I pick at the end. And in fact, I think this ending is better. Because even though the Railroad are kind of like a spy syndicate, so is the Institute with all their coursers and mystery and stuff. And with all their tech and evilness, it felt a lot more homely for the British side of James Bond. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me also know your favourite James Bond movie. And leave any suggestions to other videos that you'd like to see. Take care and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.